Hey everybody, it's David Duford here at buylifeinsuranceforburial.com, where I help people like you find quality life insurance. So in today's video, the topic is low-cost life insurance for seniors, where I talk about rates and companies that are available. Most likely you're watching this because you are a senior, or perhaps you're shopping for a senior, and you're looking for low-cost life insurance options. If that's the case, then great, you're at the right place. The purpose of this video is to go into great detail about what your options are and really do some work ahead of time to figuring out how to find the best and lowest cost life insurance available to you. So if that's what you want to accomplish, stick around and let's get started. So today's agenda, we're going to talk about the following. So I'm going to introduce you myself formally, as well as my company if you haven't seen my other videos yet. Then I'm going to go right into it and describe the steps to take to getting the low-cost life insurance rates that you're looking for seniors. We're going to specifically talk about defining your goals, what you want your policy to do for you, answering the question whether or not you want to be buried or cremated, talk about other final expenses that need to be covered, determine which low-cost life insurance type works best, choose who to work with, why that's really important, determine if you qualify on health, determine your budget, and then answer the question after we've established your goals and figured out an idea of what kind of low-cost life insurance option works best for you. Next step of how to apply and proceed from there. So my name's David Duford. I am the founder and owner of buylifeinsuranceforburial.com. I specialize in helping seniors with affordable life insurance options across the country. I'm a licensed life insurance agent, have been since 2011. I've helped over 3,000 families with their life insurance needs since I've started in the business. I've also published several books, including The Official Guide to Buying Final Expense Life Insurance. You can see it over there in the lower left-hand corner. I'm also an insurance agency owner. I recruit and train life insurance agents to go out into their own communities and basically help them the same way I'm helping you via this presentation, face-to-face, and helping them get good life insurance options. I'm also married and have children, and with my fourth one on the way anytime at the filming of this video, so wish us luck. Okay, so let's determine, step one, your goals. Figuring out what you want is just as important as finding a low-cost life insurance policy. So the thing you got to differentiate between, ladies and gentlemen, is the difference between a competitive price and a cheap policy. So what I mean by that is you want certainly something that's not going to break the bank, otherwise you wouldn't be watching this show. Perhaps you've seen other quotes and you've balked at the prices. I totally understand that. But the other thing you got to remember and keep in mind is you don't want a plan that's going to be a cheap policy. And what I mean by cheap is a plan that doesn't accomplish the goals that you want. And here's how you help define your final expense life insurance goals. So the first thing you got to obviously consider is your budget. And yes, I am a salesperson. I sell life insurance to people, but believe it or not, I'm extremely interested in making sure whatever I sell to my clients is easily affordable. I think this is a lesson that a lot of insurance agents need to learn, is that when we deal with seniors, they are on a low income and they only receive one check a month. And you don't want to take more than what's there. Why? Because the person will let the policy go, and that's a waste of your money, and that's no good for anybody. So my main interest is getting something that's easily affordable, first of all. Second of all, you got to get the best quality of coverage. So this is important. You want to establish your goals and figure out what it is you want your life insurance for, and then pick the plan that's going to best accomplish that. Sometimes you may need what's called permanent coverage because you have final expenses you want to cover. Or perhaps you just want to cover a mortgage payment for the next 10 or 15 years. And then beyond that, you don't really care because the plan will be paid off or the mortgage will be paid down by then. So both of those require different types of coverage options. And answering which one works best always goes back to the why. Why do you want to own life insurance? Why is it important? And answering that, of course, we've hit point 3. What will it cover? So once we've kind of established why you want to buy life insurance, what do you want it to cover? The next step is what do you want your policy to do for you? And answering this question helps identify what your most important goals are for purchasing final expense life insurance. And here's the thing. I know this may seem like I'm nitpicking here, but if you don't answer this question well in advance, there's a lot of problems that'll happen. If you just buy a plan because it looks good or it sounds good without really understanding how it works or comparing to something else, you could lose interest in keeping the plan long term. There's plans, life insurance plans out there that send you junk mail or they're on TV that make the plan sound great, but they have price increases every 5 years. Perhaps you won't be able to afford it then. What a waste of money, especially if you have to drop it and you lose interest in keeping it because it just doesn't make sense. Or maybe you buy a temporary plan when you really need a permanent plan. Perhaps you buy a plan that would cancel when you hit a certain age. But what if you outlive the plan and your main purpose for that insurance is for a burial insurance plan? Well, you don't know when you're going to die, so you need a plan that's not going to cancel before then. So you may have the wrong plan. So again, why we go back and talk about this in this video, so we can get all this on the table right now instead of dealing with it at an advanced age where prices are higher and you may not qualify for another program because your health has changed. Plus, you risk more time waiting around not getting covered. So yeah, if you never really identify what's important to you, most people who are confused don't do anything. They just sit tight until things clear in their minds. Sometimes that amount of time can pass, but can be years. So you don't want to risk that because your health may change for the worse. You need to get qualified today with a plan that's best suited for your health, because your health's never going to be as good as today's. It's just progressively, sometimes very slowly, gets worse over time. So let's talk about a few reasons why seniors purchase a low-cost life insurance plan. So the first one is buried or cremation. So the number one reasons buy life insurance is to pay for a burial or cremation. Which do you prefer? Have you given it much thought? A lot of people don't. They don't want to think about it, understandably. But for the sake of just understanding what your pricing is going to be, potentially, I'm going to switch my screen over to the National Funeral Directors Society's webpage. We're going to look at an average price for both cremation and burial, just to help you determine a starting point as to what kind of coverage you should potentially purchase. So right now we're on the National Funeral Directors Association's webpage. In case you're interested in doing this on your own, it's nfda.org/news/statistics. So we're going to scroll down here and click on cost. I've already got it open. And this is going to give you a listing of itemized pricing for both a burial and cremation. And it's going to compare 2014 to 2017 rates. Now, I won't spend a lot of time discussing all of this. I just want you to be aware of what some of these average costs are. Like embalming is $725. The hearse is $325. If you scroll on down here, and assuming we're getting a vault, which is most of the case these days, your burial is averaging across the country about $8,755. That's an average, so half the time it's higher, half the time it's lower. I would skew higher, especially if you live in a more metropolitan area. It's gone up $200 since 2014, by the way. So a good starting place, in my mind, is to get a plan that's $10,000 in coverage. Why? Because that safely covers the average. Although, if you're younger, if you're 65, you may need more like 12 or 15 just to make sure as a starting point. Now we're going to scroll down to look at a cremation. And same itemized list is included, but understand this includes a full funeral service and showing, and then a cremation. I mean, you show the body. It's just like a funeral, but you're cremated. And that average is $6,260. And again, that's average, so some are less, some are more. Some cremations cost way less because some people just want a simple cremation and do a wake and no service. So it's just going to depend. So a good starting point with a cremation is around $5,000 to $8,000 in my experience. So again, this is just a starting point, ladies and gentlemen. You may need more coverage than this. You may need less, but it's good to just start from somewhere and kind of have a point A to begin with. So let's talk about some other final expenses. So it's not just it's not just burial or cremation expenses that people buy life insurance. People have other reasons to buy a life insurance plan. So maybe they want to leave money behind to somebody they love. Maybe a child, maybe their spouse. Want them to have a little extra cash in the bank to help them get through life. Also, if you rely on both incomes in a senior household to live, it's a really good idea to buy a life insurance plan to replace your income, because it may shock your surviving spouse how hard it is to live without your income. So you can buy one of these plans and buy extra to cover for the difference in replacing your income. Or maybe there's some kind of debt, maybe a mortgage or something that has to be paid down, and you want a plan to cover for those types of expenses. So next step is to determine what low-cost life insurance policy type fits your goals best. And this is really important. Not all life insurance policies are the same. You get all sorts of junk mail. You see all sorts of TV ads. You see my stuff you're watching right now. All life insurance, it is life insurance, but there's different variations of life insurance. And look, there's not one that's necessarily the best, that's better than everything else. What's best is what's best for you, depending on what your goals are. And that's what my goal, my aim here, is to influence you by education to help you figure out what is that best plan for you. So it's important to take the time to match the life insurance product as perfectly as possible to your goals. Again, mismatches cause big problems down the line, wasted money, potentially losing your coverage when you most need it. So let's take a look at two different types of life insurance options to consider, and then analyze both the pros and the cons of how they work. So the first thing we're going to look at is permanent life insurance. So the best way to describe what permanent life insurance is that it's permanent coverage. It will always be with you as long as you satisfy the premium payments until you pass away. So written into the plan is a guarantee the coverage will be there up to the point you die. The most common types of permanent life insurance plans include whole life insurance and no lapse universal life insurance plans. The benefits of permanent life insurance include the premiums never increase as long as you satisfy the premium requirements. So there's never a price increase as long as you follow the guidelines. The coverage never cancels due to age or health. So if you reach an advanced age, over 80, 90, even 100, the plan is still there as long as you continue to make the payments. And then in many cases, depending on if you can health qualify, these plans will offer first day full coverage. So even after one payment, you're fully protected for how much ever that you have in coverage. The biggest drawbacks of permanent life insurance is you're going to have higher premiums and temporary coverage. So when we look at some price comparisons, you'll see what I mean. But you are buying a guarantee here. And it's important to understand that a lot of the temporary plans never pay out, whereas permanent plans, as long as the premiums are satisfied, no matter when you die, it will. It has to. So let's take a look at some sample prices. I'm going to show you some, real quick, some whole life insurance and then some guaranteed universal life insurance. We're just going to look at 65-year-old rates for guaranteed universal life for $25,000 and then a $10,000 plan for whole life insurance, just to give you some different ideas on pricing. So keep in mind here, guys, that this is a plan in which I don't know if you can qualify for. I don't know your health. This is just a starting point. Don't take this as an exact quote. You have to talk to me first before I can give you something custom tailored to you. But what we're looking at here is a $25,000 female, 65-year-old, no lapse universal life plan. I like the two top ones, Sagittarius plans. So you're looking at low 50s to low 60s for a $25,000-year-old, a $25,000 plan for a 65-year-old male non-smoker is going to be between 60 to mid 70s, maybe 80-ish a month if we look at American National. And if we look at a female for a $10,000 plan, you're looking at somewhere between the mid 30s to the lower 40s for a whole life insurance plan, 65-year-old. And then for a male, $10,000 is mid 40s to mid 50s. So the first thing you may notice is that there's, for just a few dollars more, you get a lot more coverage with guaranteed universal life. So it begs the question, why would you consider whole life insurance? The main reason I offer whole life insurance is a lot of people I deal with have had health problems. And the guaranteed universal life plans and some of the more coverage that has a lot more coverage per dollar of premium you pay requires very good health. So the whole life insurance option is really reserved for people who have had a history of health issues, whereas the guaranteed universal life products are really reserved for people with minimal health issues. Where you fit is just going to depend on your unique scenario. I can't tell you for sure, but I try to get people into guaranteed universal life plans if I can, because if their health's good enough, then they're going to get a really good deal. So just want to make sure I clarify that because there is a substantial difference in coverage that you can get, but you got to be able to qualify. And that's where you and I sit down and talk and see what your options are. Now let's switch over to temporary life insurance. Temporary life insurance provides life insurance over a predetermined period of time. So what that means is typically there are increments available at 10, 15, and 20 years and 30 years. And so you pay on this and you're covered for that length of time. And most likely, these kinds of plans are purchased to cover the large obligations that you may have, such as loans, mortgages, business loans, that kind of thing. Maybe an income replacement plan. The benefits of temporary insurance really factor around the lowest initial cost per dollar of coverage. I say initial because the drawbacks are that it's something that terminates. If we pop all the way down here, look, if you buy a 10-year term plan, you'll see a huge difference in price when I show it to you in a minute. But once you're outside of that 10-year period of time, the price goes through the roof. So while it's the lowest initial cost, it's very high in the long run. And you may not have coverage if you can't afford it. So you got to understand going into this that risk is there. As long as you understand that, then I don't have a problem selling a term insurance plan to you. But you want to make sure you understand the realities and not be hoodwinked into thinking that this is some kind of permanent plan when it's not. Also, the underwriting is more difficult. We just talked about the difference in underwriting between guaranteed universal life and simplified issue. Same applies here. Term insurance will be really reserved for the healthier people applying, whereas the simplified issue is better for people with more recent and maybe more health issues. So let's take a quick look at a $100,000 10-year term for males and females 65-year-old. We can go higher in length, and as age advances, there are limitations to the amount of term lengths that you can get. But I just want to start with a starting point just to give you an idea of what a term insurance plan may run if you were able to qualify. So here's a female 100,000 10-year term. You're looking at mid-30s to lower 50s if you may qualify. And a $100,000 10-year term for 65-year-old non-smoking male is going to be lower 50s to low 70s if you qualify. All right, so let's talk about step 6 here, which is how to determine who you work with. This is really important. And once you have a good idea of what type of life insurance best suits your goals, your next decision is to select the best company or agent to work with. So you've got some options here available to you. I'm going to talk about all of them. The first is buying from TV or mail order companies. The next option you have is maybe you've got your car insurance with an agent who's got a brick and mortar company, Storefront. You could buy it from him in many circumstances. Perhaps you want to deal with a captive agent who represents one company only, with the last choice being independent insurance agents. Let's jump into all and talk about the pros and cons of each option. So with TV and junk mail final expense life insurance companies, they're the ones that send you a bunch of junk mail, as the term implies, and you see all their ads constantly on your favorite TV shows. Generally speaking, not always, but generally speaking, these options are the most expensive and don't have the best coverage options in place. So to me, I wouldn't want to start here. So let's take a look at some examples. So a lot of these plans do what's called guaranteed acceptance life insurance plans. If you can imagine for a moment, you're watching TV and a commercial comes on with a nice couple and they talk about how so-and-so company guaranteed their acceptance for life insurance, or a host from a famous game show comes on and says that coverage is guaranteed, the rates never go up, never cancels. Well, these plans limit your coverage for the first 2 years for everybody who applies. So what happens is even if you're good health, you buy one of these plans and it seems like it's trustworthy. If you die within the first 2 years, no payout is made. Only the premiums you paid in are paid back. Whereas you could have gotten a lot more coverage and been fully protected if your health was good enough with, say, working with me instead. Also, you've probably seen the ads that says $1 buys $20,000 in coverage. Have you seen those before? Maybe wondering what's the catch. Well, the catch here is that these are term insurance plans that escalate in premium every 5 years. Sometimes they cancel at 80, sometimes they cancel at 90. But again, they don't necessarily expose this fact to you up front, and it ends up catching you in the long run to the point where you're damaged and you don't have coverage that you thought you did. Maybe you can't afford it after the price increases. Anyways, this is not a good deal, and there are better options. Then the main reason I say this is, do you think you'll die before or after 80? I do ask this to some people when I sit down with them, and it's kind of a silly question, right? Because we don't want to know when we're going to die, but it proves my point. If you're looking for a life insurance plan for final expenses, why would you get something that would cancel before 80? You know, in that case, if your goal is a burial insurance plan, it doesn't make sense to take a risk because you may outlive it. With these risks, would you consider these paying the potentially high price associated with these plans. Hopefully not. That's why I wanted to mention these. You have better options available to you. You want to exhaust those before looking at these. So let's talk about the local storefront insurance agency. So if you have your auto insurance somewhere, they can sell you insurance. And while they can, the biggest downside really is they're just not necessarily specialists in life insurance. These guys, I can tell you from personal experience, what they want to do is sell a lot of auto insurance plans. That's their bread and butter. That's what they build their businesses on. That's where their understanding is best lied. Maybe homeowners insurance as well. But their main course of action is a auto insurance plan. And let's kind of reverse roles. Imagine if I came into your house and I'm the specialist in life insurance. There's a ton of details that really go into it. You got to know the companies. You got to know the health history issues. You got to know the quotes. You got to be able to explain the concepts. And what if I just said, oh, by the way, I sell auto insurance? Well, I got to know everything about auto insurance that's important. The different rates for different companies, depending on comprehensive coverage, maybe just want liability coverage. Maybe you've had wrecks in the past. How does that affect your premiums? I have personal limitations. I'm pretty smart, but I'm probably not going to know everything, right? You just can't. So I'm probably going to be not giving you the best focused and specialization because it takes so much just to know one product really well. So that's what I'm trying to reach at here is there's just a general lack of knowledge that anybody will have, especially storefront insurance agents, since their bread and butter business is auto insurance. This is why you want to deal with a specialist, not a generalist. The guys at the auto insurance are generalists. They usually represent one company. That's a problem we'll talk about in a minute. But they're a specialist in something else, not life insurance, whereas I am a specialist in life insurance. I can help you a lot more effectively because I have advanced knowledge and experience dealing with the different types of life insurance available. So we mentioned what we call one company insurance agents. These are what's called captive agents. And while they're specialists, they're not all the same. And the biggest downside is while you can purchase life insurance from a captive agent, the biggest downside is that you're getting one product. You're getting a lack of selection. Usually a captive agent represents one company, and they push that company on you. And that price typically is a lot higher than what you would get elsewhere. And I mention this because one size does not fit all either. You may not qualify for the best price or the best value of coverage. You may be forced to have a 2-year waiting period, whereas another company would fully protect you from the first day. So it's just a bad deal, and it's a big risk too. And while specialization is good, what you really want is an agent that specializes in one kind of product and has carrier access. So somebody who can shop around to try to find you the best price, and that's what an independent insurance agent does. That's what I do. I operate in the standpoint that I want to get the best combination of a competitive price and coverage options for my clients. Independent agents work with multiple final expense life insurance companies. So what this gives you as a benefit, again, if you're looking for a low-cost life insurance plan, it gives you the best chance for competitively priced premiums. You get the best chance for the best coverage. And even if you have health issues, it's a much higher likelihood that you can get coverage in place with an agent that represents multiple companies versus the one that only has one option. So the next thing you got to do is determine if your health actually qualifies. So let's say you decide on working with an independent agent to maximize your chances of getting competitively priced final expense life insurance. What are your options in the following circumstances for each life insurance product? So, okay, let's say you have great health. You're going to be able to qualify. Maybe you may take minimal medications. You never had any major health issues. That's how I define great health. Height and weight is good. You have full access, whether it's term insurance, guaranteed universal life, or simplified issue whole life. Those are where we'd go. We'd definitely stay away from guaranteed acceptance insurance. If you have okay health, which would mean maybe you've had a serious health issue in the past, you may be able to qualify for some of those guaranteed universal life or term insurance plans if that's kind of what you're thinking. But depending on your unique scenario, your only option may be simplified issue whole life. And then if you're in not so good health, if you've had some serious recent health issues, you're either going to have simplified issue coverage or a guaranteed acceptance insurance policy offer. So let's figure out how to qualify for a low-cost life insurance program. The application process is simple. Find an agent you'd like to work with, hopefully an independent one, and of course I'll nominate myself. Have been in every video I've ever done. Of course, it's only natural to do so. I guess I'm biased. So, assuming you and I work together, what I would suggest is you and I would talk on the phone for 5 or 10 minutes. I'd listen to what your needs are, what your goals are, and just draw you up a quote. Figure out what I'd hopefully best assume as being something you qualify for. If you like it, we'd apply over the phone or over the internet via email. I don't need to visit your house to do this. It's very simple nowadays. Usually after several days or weeks, you'll get a decision either way, yes or no. Assuming you accept it and you're approved, you'll get your policy in the mail a couple weeks later, and that's literally it. You're approved, you're happy, and everything's good. Here's the next step in starting. So, interested in qualifying for a low-cost life insurance plan? I hope so. So, go to buylifeinsuranceforburial.com, and you can request a free quote by clicking the contact box at the top or the message box below at the bottom of the page. Or call me direct at 888-626-0439. I'm happy to speak with you live. Do leave a voicemail. I am very busy, and I may not pick up the phone immediately, but I more than likely will be able to call you back within a reasonable amount of time. If you like this video, please comment below, thumbs it up, and subscribe. My name is David Duford at buylifeinsuranceforburial.com, where I help seniors with low-cost life insurance options. Thank you so much. Take care. Have a great day.